Well, hey, welcome back to our Unshakeable podcast. We're on week 2.
We did it.
We did it. We got to week 2. And I'm joined by Tyler again.
Yep.
And
Yay.
Matt. For those of you who don't know, Matt, what do you do at Hope City?
Executive pastor.
Which means you do executive things.
Executive things.
Executive
Yep.
things.
What does that mean? We've never liked the title, but everybody uses
I know.
it. So.
It's so hard to like make something concise, but man, support our ministry, support our team, support our church. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that just all the things that hopefully make things run smooth.
Yeah.
I get to be a part of it, and I love it.
Yeah, we talk a lot about we're at A and we want to get to Z, and you're the guy that helps fill in all those blanks in between to kind of a system guy, and we couldn't do it without you. So I'm really pumped you're on today.
I am too.
And you just had a birthday, so I don't know what time you're getting older. I don't know what time you usually get out of bed or what time you go to bed. But
what time's your morning nap?
Yeah, we'll see how tired I am after this.
Oh, wow, that was a good.
Yeah.
This could get dangerous.
This could. Yeah.
Starts shots like that.
All right.
So we're going to jump back into 1 Corinthians and wanted to have a good conversation. So part of why we did this podcast is a big part is because there's a lot of conversations that happen during the week after the message, obviously in life groups, but also right now we just have some wild conversations happening as a culture, and it gives us a chance to speak into some of those. So we don't have a lot of time to do it, and we'll jump in and have a chance to kind of dive into some of this. So Ben preached Sunday. I was talking to him yesterday, and one of the things that he really landed on in his message was God doesn't give us a storm-free life, but he calls us to build a storm-proof life. And I think the difference between the two is really good. So the couple of passages that I just wanted to hone in on to get us started today was 1 Corinthians 3:7 says, "So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow." And we believe that around here. But you guys have been around here long enough. Let's talk about how I'm going to use the word discipleship. That becomes a word that churches throw around a lot.
It's a buzzword.
It's a buzzword. What does growth look like at Hope City? How do we view growth? Like, put some language and some structure to that.
Yeah. When we talk to new people at Starting Point, we talk about these 3 buckets. They're part of our mission. We want to help people experience Jesus. That's a bucket. And then what happens is he begins to change their lives. It's another bucket. And then they go and they impact generations. And one of the things that we say is like, this not like a linear pathway where you arrive at impact generations and, I'm good now. I'm going to retire. It's like, no, this is actually cyclical. And all of us are continuing. We're all in a process. We're all on a journey. It's really what we tell people.
So I'll throw this to you, Matt. So you have been around church world for a long time. How do you see this play out in a way that is more centered towards the Great Commission versus more centered towards just churches running programs?
Sure. I think, to Ty's point, to what we try to push folks towards, once I begin to follow Jesus and begin to be changed by him, there's going to be fruit that's going to be evident, both in my life, in my actions, in my spiritual maturity, but also in my impact of other people. And so, sometimes people can get really excited about just learn, and it's consume. Other folks are just output. Like, I just want to be out there doing these things. And a lot of that stuff can be socially very cool, but there's no depth to who they are. And so, the word that we use is always rooted.
And not that we're like, you can't use the word discipleship around here, but there's a reason we use the word rooted.
You say all the time, we want to use Bible words for Bible things. And so one of the things that we're passionate about is the word rooted, because we want people to be rooted in who Jesus is. It fits really well with what Ben was preaching on Sunday about a firm foundation, which is Jesus. And everything is built on him, nothing else. It's not built on us. It's not built on other people. I loved that he was reminding us, like, there's good things I can learn from you or from Tyler. There's folks that can mentor me, but ultimately my faith is in Jesus. He's the only one that won't let me down. And then I'm going to root into that. I'm going to grow deep roots that are going to withstand storms. That's how I become storm-proof. And so when that happens, then there's evidence of that, because you're going to see it in my actions. You're going to see it in how I face challenges. I'm going to be able to have a storm hit me and not just crumble.
And I think one of the reasons we're going to that word rooted is because the word discipleship, and we'll bring it back at some point whenever we've changed the meaning, but it got diluted into being some kind of program. And it's like, no, rooted is like, that comes from the source of what you're drawing from. So your actions are coming out of literally Christ indwelling you and the Spirit leading you versus you attending a class. And it's like, you can attend a class and not be any closer to Christ than you were before. But the fruit of your life is evident because he's doing this transformative work. And so that's really good. 1 Corinthians, so we hang out in chapter 3. Now, Ben jumped over to Matthew, and he did a good job of talking about the man who built his house on the rock versus the sand. But we're going to say in this chapter 3, I want to talk about verse 10. It says, "By the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care." And there's two things in this verse specific that I think are interesting. One, he doesn't see the foundation that he's building as complete. He says someone else is building on it. And I think that is in terms of ministry and the fruit that comes from our lives. We may not see like the harvest of some of the stuff that we plant. So you may invest in someone, you may not see the full fruit, but he says each one should build with care. In other words, we have this responsibility. And so I don't know if you guys have thought about this much, but what does it look like to build with care? You guys are in it, or what's it look like to be intentional in the way that you're investing and building into people?
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the things, I don't come from a long line of Christian family. And so my grandpa was the first believer. And I think you and I are similar in this. We have some Bibles that mean something to us, and because they're kind of anchor points. And so I don't know that my grandpa, when he became a believer, I don't know that he set out to go, my grandkid's going to be a pastor someday. He just knew, I need Jesus. I want to build a family that's oriented a different way. My mom carried that on. Now I carry that on to my kids. And for me, it's one of those things of going, I want my family to be oriented towards Jesus. I want them to be grateful for me because I pointed them to something greater. I want to be a good dad for sure, but I don't care that they go, my dad was better than other dads. I want them to be grateful that I anchored them in the faith, that I built something that was going to last, that they don't need me as they get older. You and I both have older kids now, and they're off on their own and they're becoming young adults, and we're proud of them because when difficulty comes, their response is, what's Jesus have to say about this? And that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, and I want to say this, and I know, Ty, you would echo this, but you're one of the most consistent people I know. And so just to see you believe that, but also we get to see Matt live this out in his day-to-day, just consistently, man, I'm gonna be the same person today that I was yesterday. And now, the thing I love about you, we always chuckle, the difference between me and Matt is when the storm's coming, I'm going to be like, dude, look at that storm. And Matt's going to be like, yep, that's a storm. He is so calm in the midst of chaos. But I think that comes for you from this place of going, man, I've got a long-term vision of what I see. And I think when we look at culture, what's happening right now, and maybe we could spend the rest of this week talking about how we apply this, because there's been a lot of talk in the first 2 weeks about wise and foolish, right? And I think one of the things that we're seeing right now, if you're on social media at all, one of the things you're seeing is a pretty stark difference between people building on wise statements and foolish statements, but just wise systems and foolish systems. And so we talked in week 1 about, are we bending to the truth? In week 2, now we're going, hey, is the foundation of your life one that is built on Christ or not, and actually doing what he's called you to do? So when we get into wise systems and foolish systems, I watched this week, this last week, the Charlie Kirk memorial.
All 5 hours.
Holy cow, that was a marathon. So now this is wild. So let me make a couple of observations, because I think there are folks that are kind of all over the board on this. You've got some older folks who, I would say are in some ways viewing it totally different as, my kids or teenagers or even those in their young 20s. And at the same time, I think it's clear to say this has never happened in my lifetime. And I've never seen. Now we're going to speak into this for a second because there's a tension with this, but I've never seen our faith be given a stage by kind of, and in the name of kind of like this political ideology like we're seeing it now. So this is what I witnessed, and I'll tell you what I think of the good and the bad. This isn't like today we're not going to just download the Charlie Kirk Memorial, because literally everybody's doing that on every podcast right now, and it's good. I think there's some that's good about that. But we want to stick to 1 Corinthians. But this is so applicable right now.
Yeah.
So I watch. The first part was a lot like a killer church service.
Yeah.
I mean, the pastor from Calvary Chapel got up, gave probably the most clear, call to salvation you're going to hear.
Yeah.
And then you've got what some online are calling the Avengers of the worship world. Which
so good.
So good. Because if you were to assemble the worship Avengers, is that not who would be on stage? Phil Wickham, Carrie Joe, Cody Carnes, just the whole crew. And so I was cracking up. But in all of that, you have some phenomenal worship. Watch this clip. I just want to, this was wild.
Can we just take a second and can we acknowledge that the presence of God is in this place? I don't know if you call this man Jesus a friend, but he is a friend and he is a fan of you. We have this amazing Savior who not only came to give his life to save us, but he shows up every time we call on his name. And that's good news, because the presence of God is in this place. And so if you are lacking today, if you need hope, if you need joy, if you need life, he's a God of resurrection power. How many of you believe that?
Okay, so I want to show you this next clip too, because this next clip is just literally a whole stadium full of people worshiping, right?
Yeah.
Praise you again. I know it's not much, nothing else.
All right. So here's my thing. Little conflicting because these people are worshiping, and you're like, well, those people that are lifting their hands, do they even know what they're worshiping? I'd say maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
The gospel was so here's what we're seeing, and this is what we have to deal with, whether you like it or not. This is why people have a little bit of tension right now, and they're trying to figure some of this stuff out. Is you now have a political arena in which there is worship and God being glorified, and yet, the next speaker might get up and not even be a Christian, right? So you have these two dynamics going on. So this is wild.
Yeah.
Like so wild. Yeah. So my heart is like, in one moment, my heart's going, holy cow, the gospel, like the good news of Jesus is being spread to millions of people right now. Mm-hmm. And the other part of my heart is guarded, because I'm like, at the same time, I've been burned by political parties.
Yeah.
And we know not to put our faith in a political party.
Right.
So how are we navigating this in culture? So when we talk about wise and foolish, I think there's something to be said right now that we can like play out and practice in what we're doing. And that is this idea of, do we put our hope in earthly structures or kingdom structures? Yep. And what do we do then? How do we be wise when those two interact? Mm-hmm. And so you guys are seeing this. I'm just curious, some of the stuff that came across your mind when you're seeing all these people worship, and there's some fascinating dynamics.
I loved seeing, like you called them the Avengers of worship. Like it felt like they were back at like Passion Conference. Like they do this all the time.
They
genuinely were worshiping. Even when you see Brandon Lake like step back and let people sing, like that's what worship people. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But I think there's at some level, there's a level of discernment that you have to have. Like there has to be an antenna pop up, and with social media, like sometimes we get pigeonholed. We watch one or two videos and we're like, oh yeah, that guy's like, I believe exactly what he's saying. And you're like, well, if you would just kind of watch like the other 10 videos on that feed, it gives you a completely different outlook on everything. Like it kind of goes back to like spiritual growth. It takes time.
So here's my question. How do you not approach everything with cynicism? Because God obviously was glorified in a setting in which I think took me back even to go, holy cow, he's giving, they were giving full freedom to preach the gospel. They had an altar call at one moment, And then they had a QR code up on the screen that said, now if you just gave your life to Christ, follow this QR code to go to a place and a source where you can find out what it looks like to follow Jesus. So, how do you guys discern that? Mm-hmm. Or how are you finding discern that? Both of you guys I would consider wise.
You guys talked about it on week 1 of the podcast, when you talked about the Theo Vaughn quote. And there's moments where you resonate with things. It doesn't mean you resonate with everything that they say, but you can look at a particular moment and go, this makes sense, or I agree with this, or God's being glorified in this moment. So I look at that and I love that moment. And there's something good that's coming from that, and people are responding, and it's wild because I've not seen this in my lifetime either, and those things have been so separated and so distinct, and so there's even a different level of discernment for me now to go, I've not experienced this, so now I've got to try and be a little bit sharper than I normally am, because they're not two distinct warring factions at this point. You've got this blend of these two things, but it's also awesome because you're like, this is the best thing you can do.
Yeah. So we were talking about this. So when political leaders speak positively about faith, it can and they welcome religious voices, it can almost feel like this natural partnership.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be naive enough to think that, I have very little trust in politics, and that's just me.
Yep.
Now, I care about policies, but I have very little trust in politics. And so when we see a political party welcoming people of faith, that doesn't bother me, because I'm like, thank you. The majority of people in this country have faith. So that should be part of the fabric of our country.
Yeah.
What makes me a little nervous is I also know that there's a lot of corruption in politics, and that those same folks could potentially use people of faith to get to an agenda that may not be a Christian agenda or a biblical agenda at all. So I think it's okay to be cautious, but I also think we need to be optimistic. And not cynical all the time. Every time we see God portrayed in the public arena, let's not be like, that's, I'm not going to celebrate that, because I guarantee you, those people are all fake or whatever. I'm like, what if God is giving us favor in some of this? In fact, and I've seen different posts so I'm maybe I'll upset somebody by saying this. I don't know. I do know I will upset somebody. But I like one post I saw, I was like, this is what Charlie would have wanted. And I'm like, okay, no, this is what God would want.
Right.
Not Charlie. And so I think there's almost there's this wisdom that we have to go, how do we distinguish between kingdom structures and then earthly structures, and then know how to navigate when those two intertwine. Kingdom structures are eternal.
Yeah.
Earthly structures are temporary.
Yep.
And so this is me. And again, I'm praying for our church that we can get to this place. So somebody can get on stage and they can talk in this setting and talk about Jesus. And I go, man, what they're saying right there, that is true gospel.
Yeah.
Right. And you can judge their character if you want. Paul didn't care. Paul said, if the truth is being preached, then let it be preached. So, But I heard, I'm not going to name names. I heard a cabinet member get up, speak a pretty clear gospel message, right? But then I also heard somebody else very much aligned with the political party get up and say some things that were untrue biblically, but trying to speak with almost like this faith accent, because they're trying to, mesh the two. And I think I'm not judging that person as an idiot. I just think we have to be wise enough to go, hey, this person obviously has biblical truth in them, and the other person, if they have faith, may not be as far along, and just be able to start to discern that. So Christians, this is important. Christians are called to be citizens of both earthly nations and God's kingdom. But God's kingdom has to take priority, right? So the tension, that we come up with is, man, can I support a political cause without placing false hope in that? And how do I vote my conscience without idolizing some kind of political outcome? So I just put some examples of how we can do this. I think it's about perspective and keeping the kingdom in view at all times, and then kind of weaving in and out of earthly structures. So here's some of my examples, and I don't know, you guys may or may not resonate with these, but a Christian doctor can work on healthcare policy. And at the same time, if that policy doesn't turn out the way that in his favor or not, he's still going to advocate for his patient daily, right? A small business owner can be involved in economic policy. At the same time, they're going to serve their community. So whether or not that policy, now there's going to be times when those policies make it easier for a Christian business owner or a Christian doctor or a Christian teacher who may be advocating for like educational funding. But if they don't get it, they're still fully invested in their classroom and in their students. And here's what I would say. As a Christian, we can advocate for policies. We can fully take advantage of those. And sometimes they're going to work to allow us to spread the gospel better and more effectively. And right now we are seeing an openness from at least the conservative party, an openness to go, hey, if you want to share this message, we're going to let you share it. Now, there's been times, and there probably will be a time down the road where that will not be the case.
Sure.
And it may be harder for us to share the gospel. But since they're giving us the platform and the avenue right now, let's take advantage of it. That seems wise. But again, I think you can only do that by discerning the difference between what is what I'm fully engaged in right now, an eternal structure, a kingdom structure. So I have this pattern. Full engagement without ultimate dependency is what I would say when it comes to the political world, but not just the political, earthly structures. How do I have full engagement without ultimate dependence? So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that or not, but I know you do. I'm teeing it up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good, like, I'm still wrestling with that quote.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good full engagement without ultimate dependence. I mean, it literally comes back to, like, we've been talked about, like, the fool's rock yesterday. It's like, you are going to have to, like, your foundation cannot be on something that looks similar to Christ.
Yeah.
It has to be all about
It has to be
Jesus.
Christ. Yeah.
Because when the rain comes, when there's something that's shared by someone that you view as a hero politically, it could rock your faith if you're not built on the
And
rock.
there are a lot of imitations right now.
So many imitations.
So like Fool's Rock, or Fool's Gold, as we, like, there's a lot of imitations of things that look kind of Jesus-y.
Yep.
It's like, well, this is loving, or this is like service oriented, or these people are using the language, but is this built on Christ or not? Man, that's really good.
Yeah. I think you preached a couple of weeks ago on Stand Firm, and that's what I go back to is, I mean, it's a similar thought to Tyler's, but it's this firm foundation. And so I can play offense or defense, but I've got to have my feet underneath me.
Yeah.
And so right now, if I'm gonna engage in culture, I'm gonna do that, but I'm not gonna overextend.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna believe in something more than I do in who Jesus is.
Okay,
And
here's what I want to say is, people are going to push on you, and they're going to go, well, if you engage in that, then you depend on that. And what I'm saying is, no, that's actually not true. Just because you have engagement in something doesn't mean that's your source or what you depend on. And I think if we can, like, culturally, what you're saying, like with having our feet under us, if we know what it is that we're depending on, then it allows us actually to engage in that arena, whether it's politics or the workplace or our school or whatever. It allows us to engage in that arena without it hijacking our source, our foundation, our truth, and everything else. Because there's a narrative right now that if you engage in something, then you've like sold out to it. I'm like, no, like we have to, I think we have to shoot that down in the sense of, or disassemble that, because if that's the case, then how does a Christian engage in culture at all?
Yeah.
Like, the idea that we're in the world but not of it is, to me, on full display right now. Like, we have a chance to speak into some stuff. Yeah. I don't know what's happening in our nation. Our nation, I mean, I think it's there's monumental shifts happening right now. Yeah. I think there's going to be monumental shifts happening in the political world. There was a couple moments that I watched some key moments in the memorial service. I'm fascinated by it. I think the more I read about criticisms of Charlie Kirk, the more I dig in and watch videos, and I actually think they're unfair criticisms. I think especially in the last year and even in the last few months, a lot of his political views were birthed out of his faith, and I think that's true for most of us. But what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing people from stage wrestle with faith issues. So I saw on 2 different occasions, 2 folks get up and say, Charlie Kirk loved people, In fact, he did a lot better than I do.
Yeah.
I have hate in my heart, or I hate my opponents. And they're like actually like sharing that from stage. And you're like, oh, well, you're being honest, and there is a difference in what you're saying and how you live and in how somebody else lived. And so now it's like, can we celebrate the life of somebody who was flawed? Yes.
Yeah.
Like what, you know?
Yeah.
Because we all are. Yeah.
Is he Jesus? No.
Yeah.
And the wisdom for us goes, hey, let's celebrate the life of somebody who tried to live out their faith.
Yeah.
At the same time, that is, you know, politics, what he advocated is an earthly structure. Sure. Our hope is in an eternal kingdom, and our hope is in Jesus. And if we can actually learn from all this, I think we're going to engage culture really well. And I think not only are we going to engage culture well, but it's going to give us this foundation where we're always fighting for truth in the chaos. And I think what we have right now is we have a dynamic where Christians are able to speak into the chaos, maybe in a way that I don't, in my lifetime, I don't know that we've ever been able to. Now, how's this all going to play out? It's in God's hands. Buckle up. It's in God's hands. And ultimately, you know, I've seen a few people share the quote, you know, ultimately, as Christ followers, because our hope is in Christ and in an eternal kingdom, then what, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, your eternity is sealed. So what do we have to fear? Our hope is in Christ. What? There's nothing in the earthly structures of this world that can shake our faith or our foundation. It truly is unshakable. And so there's a boldness right now in Christians that is pretty incredible.
Well, I thought it was pretty crazy. Like his wife said it, you know, she said like after his assassination, people weren't rioting. They weren't storming they weren't invading streets. They were invading churches.
Yes.
I mean, like more people were in church the last few weeks than, I mean.
So Ty, that's what we're talking, like the fruit of something is what is exhibition A, exhibit A of what we're talking about. When you see the fruit, that's how you can judge it. And if you're judging something and going, well, the fruit's good, but it's probably fake, maybe you're cynical. So I'm just saying, maybe you're not allowing.
If you're writing someone off, maybe
I mean, let's see it for what it is. So we got a lot going on. As we get into 1 Corinthians, it's going to get better and better. We're going to get into some tough topics. Send all your emails. Matt.
No, Charlie.
Matt, Charlie's not on this one. Charlie at Experience Hope City, send all your emails to. No, this is good because it gives us something to think about. And certainly as we talk, you know, we're hashing stuff out too. But we'll jump back in next week, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right.